it's been a fascinating day. It's been a fascinating day seeing people do their best to defend the honor, I guess, of Cory Booker. Cory Booker, who last week stepped into a pile of political shit over his vote against an amendment that was aiming to lower the cost of prescriptions by allowing the importation of prescription drugs from Canada. The problem with not just the problem was the vote against it. Now, most people can agree that the amendment that was forwarded by Bernie Sanders and I can't remember the other senator's name. The problem, or not the problem, but most people can concede that amendment was symbolic, because it really stood very little chance of passing until it almost had a chance of passing, right? You had 13 Republicans who signed onto it. I mean, and then you had 12 Democrats who voted against it, Cory Booker leading the way. So, you know, even though it was symbolic, it actually had a chance of passing as in the amendment form. Would it have passed the Senate? Very unlikely. Would it have passed the reconciliation between the House and the Senate? Probably not at all, mainly because just about everyone is in bed with the corporate lobby. Everybody but Bernie Sanders, and we'll talk about that in a second. So the policy itself has widespread support amongst Americans, and the fact that Cory Booker was the most well-known senator to vote against it, it led to what one article referred to as the public crucifixion. Not a fan of that language, but the public crucifixion of Cory Booker. I mean, he's not that important to actually warrant. Anyway, I digress. So here's the thing. So he said that he supports the importation of prescription drugs, but that any plan to allow the importation of prescription medications should also include consumer protections that ensure foreign drugs meet American safety standards. He said, I opposed an amendment put forward last night because it didn't meet this test. Now, this is besides the fact that he just voted against it. It's this completely erroneous excuse, and weak excuse at that actually caused most of the backlash that most of us today are familiar with, because they've been dragging Cory all weekend, and I completely, wholeheartedly co-sign with the political dragging of Cory Booker over this issue. I mean, I'd co-sign any political dragging of Cory Booker, because Cory Booker has shown himself to be the quintessential neoliberal multiculturalist, the guy who wants to work on identity politics only and wants to be an economic conservative. He wants to be he has so many donations. He is the pick of Wall Street. He is the pick of the pharmaceutical industry lobby. He has shown his loyalty so much so that he could not be an effective surrogate for President Obama in 2012 against Bain Capital, because it was so deeply rooted in him to protect venture capitalists that he actually went against President Obama. I mean, that's some deep shit when you can't even be partisan because of your connections to corporate lobbyists. Partisanship is one of the worst problems in America, the hyper-partisanship at that. But you would expect someone high profile like Cory Booker to play by the rules. I mean, it wasn't like we were running a primary, Obama versus, Ralph Nader or something. It was a unified party. Obama was the president. Everybody hands on deck to stop Mitt Romney. Bain Capital presented the best opportunity to show the alleged differences that didn't really pan out to be differences, but that's a different story. This was the best attack line, and Cory Booker gets on national television and says that President Obama needs to stop attacking Mitt Romney on Bain Capital. Now, what kind of bullshit is that? You are so connected to corporate interests that you can't even be a hyperpartisan. This shows you where his loyalties lie. And so that's why I co-sign on any public political dragging of Cory Booker, because he's 8 years too late, right? Right. The neoliberal identity only politics, that was 2008. So actually, it wasn't even 2008. It was closer to, that's 2016, to be honest with you. 2008, Obama ran as a populist. So let me scratch that. Let me go. Obama ran as a straight populist in 2008. Cory Booker wants to run on the ability to say, I'm black, I'm cool, I'm young, I connect with millennials, and Wall Street is funding me all the way. And here's the thing. His criticism itself, and this is why he was getting dragged around the country. It doesn't add up. Most of the drugs that were going to be imported from Canada were originally manufactured in the United States in the first place. The amendment's text states that the imported prescription drugs must be safe and affordable. And it conducted by American pharmacists, wholesalers, individuals. This is actually text from the amendment itself. It said it must be conducted by American pharmacists, wholesalers, and individuals with a valid prescription from a provider licensed to practice in the United States. How much safer could you get? So it was the clear notion. It was no. Let me start that sentence over. It was clear from his weak excuse that he did not have a valid reason, or he did not have a reason that he can publicly divulge for voting against this amendment. Now, this should be the end of the story. For most liberals, progressives, for a lot of us, it is. However, you've had an onslaught of people who have turned the corner to come and defend the honor of their next great neoliberal hero by trying to tie Bernie Sanders to this, even though he wasn't the only sponsor of this legislation. He wasn't even the lead sponsor of this legislation. But if you could tie Bernie Sanders to it, you could find a way to make this about Bernie Sanders, race, and all the other bullshit that they've been running. So they've tied Bernie Sanders to this. And I've heard everything from Bernie Sanders intentionally did this because he wants to run in 2020 when he's going to be like 145 years old. And he did this to block Cory Booker because he didn't want Cory Booker to be a challenge to him. Like, this is the depth of conspiracy theory that we have gotten to, not by random egg Twitter accounts, but by people who lead actual organizations with millions of dollars of funding. All right. And you've got people, influencers with, like DeRay McKesson, who shared completely unfactual, untruthful information trying to muddy the waters between Cory Booker and Bernie Sanders with regard to donations from the pharmaceutical, quote unquote, industry, trying to say that Bernie Sanders has taken just as much from the pharmaceutical industry as Cory Booker. Two major distinctions there, and I have not seen DeRay correct this. I would rather be correct than to be an effective cog in this machine. Two huge distinctions. Bernie Sanders received almost $300,000 from people who work for the pharmaceutical industry, people who are employed by the pharmaceutical industry, people who have jobs in that industry, individuals, not corporate lobbyists. Cory Booker received his money from corporate lobbyists. If you can't tell the difference between receiving money from lobbyists who are representing the interest of the industry at the expense of the individual, and donations from individuals who work in the industry, then you're not qualified to be in the conversation about politics. This goes across the board. Or you're just being a political propagandist, and we have to treat you entirely different than giving you the benefit of the doubt of ignorance. Number two, even if it was apples to apples, money from corporate lobbyists, which it is not. Bernie Sanders ran a presidential campaign. He ran a 50-state campaign against Hillary Clinton. Cory Booker ran for Senate. Don't get me wrong. I know it costs maybe, in Florida, it costs about $10 million to run for Senate. So you have to raise a lot of money, but it can cost you upwards of $500 million to run for president of the United States. So even if it was from corporate lobbyists, which it was not. There's a quantitative. There is a qualitative and a quantitative difference in this story. The quantitative difference is the fact that Bernie Sanders was running a nationwide campaign. The qualitative difference is while Cory Booker was running a Senate race in the small state of New Jersey. A lot of people, yeah, but not as much ground to cover as other states. It's an expensive media market, so let me not be disingenuous. I get it. Partly. The qualitative difference is, as I have already stated, there's a difference between receiving money from individuals and there's a difference between receiving money from corporate interests. And the vote that Cory Booker made reflects his interests are not the individual, but the corporation. Oh, yeah, but Cory Booker voted for the Wyman Amendment. Well, I tell you what, we'll tackle the Wyman Amendment tomorrow. We're having an article written for ProgressiveArmy.com by an attorney who's knee deep in this issue, going over the amendments. So I'm going to let her write the article first before I pretty much give up everything that she's written. I'm going to give full disclosure. This is her wonderful research and dissection. We're going to talk about that tomorrow, and I want you to make sure that you read the article at ProgressiveArmy.com as soon as it is released. But more than anything else, I'm just really, really fascinated by the Democrats and the firewall who come out, and no matter what, they can use Bernie Sanders as a means of making the issue about race against people who are doing things that are detrimental not only to black people, but to all Americans. This is a standard play, and they've been doing it all since the primaries.